2024 was a wild ride in Cowboy country, but 2025 is proving to be a wild time. There is something incredibly special brewing in Stillwater. Don't know how it's happening, don't know why it's happening, but I do know it's happening. And we are now becoming a legitimate transfer destination school.
You are Locked On Oklahoma State, your daily podcast on the Oklahoma State Cowboys, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Howdy, y'all, and hello, all. Welcome back to Locked On Oklahoma State, your daily stop for all things Cowboy and Cowgirl related. My name is Cody Stovall. I want to thank you kindly for stopping by to make this your first listen. We're available on all of your podcasting platforms, visually as well on YouTube. Find me personally on X at Oldeo State. Today, we're partially brought to you by TurboTax. Ready for the stress-free taxes and the most money back guaranteed? Then head on over to TurboTax.com today and get matched with your expert that's going to help you with your capitalization purposes. Meanwhile, we shift into the conversation of what is happening in Stillwater, Oklahoma. There's something in the water. There's something cooking with hot oil right now. We have discussed in the past how we were able to lure some guys from some big-name universities in football, although we might not be getting the same level of respect as we are in other sports in the transfer portal market. Steve Lutz basketball program is currently ranked number 1 in the country in the transfer market, according to On3, and we're top 15, top 17, and all the other services as well. The differentiation between On3 and everybody else is they're taking into consideration what you're bringing in and what you're losing. Oklahoma State has only lost one scholarship basketball player thus far, and it being Connor Dow, who was kind of like a 7th, 8th man piece that we'd bring in occasionally. Other than that, it's been nothing but receiving massive benefits in this transfer portal era. You have to be able to put yourself at the forefront of schools that are going to be conducive to you upticking your capabilities and giving you a chance at the next level, at least a better chance. And if we look back to football, people tend to forget that Oklahoma State was way ahead of the transfer portal back in the days when it wasn't really a thing, right? Getting the Tyler Patmans, the Lindsey Pipkins, those were individuals coming to Oklahoma State way before the transfer portal was a thing, and they were able to catapult what they did at Oklahoma State into the NFL, and they both had pretty long careers in the NFL. So this is not necessarily something that's new, but it's new on this level. It's new for it to be in multiple sports. Let's take this in perspective. Where people come from is not the end-all, be-all, right? But at the same time, we know that there is a discrepancy in the ranking system when people leave an SEC school versus leaving a Big 12 school. There's a discrepancy. There's a numbers bump. There's a star rating boost whenever you go to the right teams and the right conferences according to specific people. So it does matter to some degree because it is factored into the things throughout the course of the season. In football, we were able to get J.K. Johnson from LSU, Jalen Davies, UCLA, Sitvini Havili Kavusi, also from UCLA, Trip White from Ole Miss, Shamar Rigby from Purdue, Haas Haney from TCU, Chendavian Bradley was a 5-star All-American that went to Tennessee, Trent Allen, of course, Indiana, Caleb Hicks, OU, Gavin Freeman, OU, Jalen Lloyd, Nebraska, Kyron Duhon, he's from UTEP, but he was sought after by most of the SEC and Big Ten schools around the geographical area. Then you have George Silva from Oregon. I know that seems kind of up in the air, but nonetheless, this is a dude from Oregon that wanted to come to Oklahoma State. Sam Jackson from Auburn, Mordecai McDaniel, Florida, Michael Diata, Virginia, DeJuan Lofton, Virginia Tech. Not to mention, guys, all of the 4-star recruits that are flooding the building right now. You had 10 visits over this last week. Oscar Rios, 4-star quarterback, 6'3", 180 pounds from Downey, California. The On3 projections have them going to Arizona, Utah, and Colorado. The reason I bring this up is because it's going to be important. We were already able to take down KD Batman Jones, which had all of the prognostications, putting him at OU. So anything is possible. Luke Fahey, 6 foot, 185-pound, Mission Viejo, California, quarterback, also a 4-star. The prognostications have him going to Ole Miss or Auburn. But again, we were able to lure KD Batman Jones from OU to Oklahoma State, and he had several other suitors involved as well. So nothing is off the table. And what you're hearing is this is a very special time. There's something happening in Stillwater, Oklahoma. You're hearing it from some of the coaches. You're hearing it from Kenyatta Wright, and you're also hearing it directly from these recruits. You got Jason Bradford, 6'3", 200-pound cornerback from Temple, Texas. We are competing against Houston, Texas Tech, Arizona State, and yes, this is accurate, Texas State. Because G.J. Kinney does have something cooking as well that people do want to be a part of. But you're talking about the heavy hitters and a 4-star, 6'3", 200-pound cornerback. That should be a Cowboy. Then you got to talk about, if we're going to shift over to linebacker, We've had a run of linebackers in the NFL at the moment. And then you also have the ability, I think, is you're going to see Brian McCloy kind of transition in that Nick Martin role. You also have a senior in high school, Ja'Cory Smith, 6 foot, 190-pound linebacker out of Little Rock, Arkansas. And yes, we've got to compete with the Alabamas and the Auburns and the Arkansas of the world to get his services. But that would be a 1 in a million type of individual, in my opinion. We've got to compete against OU, K-State, Ole Miss, and Bama, of course. But then you have DeQuasie Beck, who was just in town, 6'1", 205-pound, 4-star linebacker. Then you have Tayon Tank King. If we were to get any one of these highly rated, extremely capable linebackers, it would kind of transcend that position for the future at Oklahoma State. Now, Tayon Tank King is an 81% lock for Notre Dame. But again, you cannot count Oklahoma State out for any of these individuals because of the conversations that are coming out of Stillwater. And the beauty of this is it's not just football, basketball. We just got LSU's victorious, a.k.a. V.J. Miller. You got Anthony Roy. And yes, we were able to talk to Doug Gottlieb the other day. Obviously, he's been on the show a few times, good friend of the show. We're trying to get him back on to kind of give us a breakdown of what Anthony Roy can provide. Yes, of course, 26 points a game is absolutely phenomenal, but how is it going to transcend on the court at Stillwater, America? I think Doug Gottlieb would know that answer. Isaiah Coleman from Seton Hall, Kanye Clary averaged 16.7 points a game at Penn State before going to Mississippi State. And then, we were in on 5-star transfer from ASU, Jadon Quintons, who averaged 9.4 a game, 53% from the floor, 7.9 rebounds a game. It seems as though he's already committed and likely headed to Kentucky. But this is an individual that I don't think we should completely give up on because, again, something special is happening in Stillwater, Oklahoma. We still have the capability to land Syracuse forward Chris Bell, 6'7", 205 pounds, also averaging 9.4 points a game. In his 3 years after, 12 points a game average 2 years ago. He also is 80% from the free throw line. He's also 39% from the three-point line and shoots almost 42% from the floor. This is a different time in Stillwater, Oklahoma. This is why we're ranked number one as according to the transfer portal by On3. And again, if you look at the other services, we're top 15, 16, 17, and they don't even take into consideration the people that are leaving. So I actually appreciate On3 for doing this one because it's not just taking into consideration the guys coming, it's taking into consideration the guys that are not leaving. So not only is Steve Lutz absolutely killing it right now, but he's also maintaining the ability to keep the guys that are important on the roster to stay. And the beauty of it is we're going to stick in Gallagher-Iba Arena and make that place rowdy again. Jacie Hoyt, the WBCA National Coach of the Year finalist, she's also been able to hammer home lately some massive recruits, starting with Amari Whiting, the BYU transfer who averaged 10.4 points a game. And yes, this is the same Amari Whiting that is the daughter of Amber Whiting, who was the head coach at BYU for years. So, yes, it would be absolutely phenomenal if Amber were to come on and join the fold with Jacie. That could be a 2-for-1 special, especially with Jasmine Player kind of taking her talents elsewhere. Then you've got Tyla Hurd to come in with Staley Hurd, her sister. And she was kind of, a really integral piece to ORU's seasons where they went 24-9 and they won 23 games in the conference. But people tend to forget she can get bunches. She can get points in bunches as well. She scored 1,335 points in high school and had 690 rebounds. This is a beautiful thing for the legacy style of conversation that we love having for football. It would be amazing if it's applicable for basketball, women's basketball as well. Then you have Haley Timmer, 5'11" guard, averaged 12.3 points a game, 41.3% from the three-point line, and she shot 50% and put up double digits against us to knock us out of the NCAA tournament. Then you have a Cole, a Tuck from UCF, the 6'1" Team Canada FIBA World Star, averaged 6.6 points a game, 6.8 rebounds a game, 85 assists, 46 steals, and 34 blocks. Now we have the Arizona State transfer. I think Kennedy Basham could be absolutely massive for the Cowgirls. We just witnessed what kind of a force Tana Magasa could be down low, even without getting involved in the points production. The fact that she completely changed the offense's ability to get into the lane, she was very disruptive to every team's offense. Basham does the same thing, if not better. Actually, statistically, she is better. She scored 181 points at Arizona State, 5.7 points per game, 83 blocks, 50 steals, averaging 6.5 rebounds a game, 36% from the three-point line, and 42% from the field. Ladies and gentlemen, Tannen Magassa was number 9 in America in blocks, averaging 2.5 a game, right around that 75 block range. Kennedy Basham was number 6 in the country, 2.6 a game and 83 blocks. To put this into even more of a perspective, TCU Sedona Prince was number 4 in the country in blocks, and she was blocking 3 people a game. So 3 of the best blockers in the country in the top 10 in America were all in the Big 12. And we know what Tannen Magassa was able to provide. So if Kennedy Basham does in fact become a Cowgirl, we can have an expectation of making a better run in the tournament this next season. And this isn't done. We got wrestling. We just got the 125-pound Big 12 and 2004 national champion. This is amazing. Getting Figueroa from Arizona State is huge because he beat Drake Ayala in the national title in 2024. Then you have Casey Swiderski, the All-American from Iowa State. You have Alex Facundo, who obviously Penn State fans are up in arms about because he was going to likely be a massive portion of that room, if not pushing to be a major contributor this year on the mat. Not to mention you have Zach Ryder. Zach Ryder is another Penn State individual. And yeah, of course, the Rocco Welsh situation kind of probably tipped him over the edge. But I feel like he was already deciding on Oklahoma State because of what David Taylor is doing and what we have cooking. There's a reason that we didn't need to get desperate for the AJ Ferrari sweepstakes, but that actually had some news all in and of itself. So we're going to talk about in a second. But before we do, ladies and gentlemen, it is tax season, so we got to be prepared. TurboTax is your one-stop shop for the waiting, the wondering, the worrying to kind of go away, right? This is your opportunity to stop that. The waiting, the wondering, the worrying, you can kind of kick that to the curb. Now, Taxes is matching you with a TurboTax expert who can do your taxes as soon as today. An expert who gives your taxes their undivided attention as they work on your return while you get real-time updates on the progress so you can focus on your day-to-day operation. An expert who will find you every deduction possible, file every form, every investment, and everything for 100% accuracy. Also, you can get the most money back guaranteed. Get rid of the waiting, the wondering, the worrying with this tax season. Get an expert now at TurboTax.com. Only available with TurboTax Live Full Service, real-time updates only in iOS mobile app. See guarantee details at TurboTax.com/guarantees. Get with TurboTax.com today to get rid of the stress levels that come with tax season. Make sure you get the most money back guaranteed with TurboTax. Today is your day. Well, we might be able to have a little bit more of a different conversation about Oklahoma State football, especially offensively this year. I do think if you look back to some of the years of Doug Meacham being at Oklahoma State, being part of the Whedon, Blackman, Pettigrew kind of era stuff, the recruiting level of getting Des Bryant on the campus, then having some of the transcendence in the Mason Rudolph days as well, not to mention his capabilities at TCU, that Trayvon Boykin offense. If you were to take all of that, and then you take a little piece from this last year's offense, what could you potentially possibly have? Now, the turbo packages that used to be all day, every day, 24/7 at Oklahoma State, maybe that's not the same as it's going to be now because defenses have found ways to make adjustments. But if you were to paint a picture of a Cowboy offense that did have the ability to score multiple touchdowns in under 52 seconds from multiple different quarterbacks, it's pretty easy to get excited about. Whenever you came into the season knowing that there should be an emergence out of Rodney Fields, we feel pretty comfortable about the Chris Carson level techniques that can be implemented by Trent Allen. And then you hear that Caleb Hicks is out here absolutely killing it. The OU transfer might have found himself climbing up the depth charts. We've already heard about his ability out of the backfield. So if you now take his ability to kind of make things interesting in the backfield, and now you can get him out on swing routes, you can get him out on wheel routes. This is an Oklahoma State offense that could mirror some of those Whedon, JW, Clint, Rudolph style of offenses. And what would that be like for Oklahoma State fans? More importantly, what would that look like for recruiting? We just talked about becoming a destination program. Now, what's to stop us from continuing to get some of the top guys in the high school ranks, right? Even locked in down the state of Oklahoma. Absolutely amazing. Getting KD and Trey and Carter. We're only a Taj away from having the Taj Mahal in Boone Pickens Stadium. If this offense is, in fact, faster and they're more focused on not committing turnovers and understanding what the defense is doing and knowing how to call audibles and checks and shift the protections, and to do this while going up and down the field at your own discretion. So if you have the ability to do a huddle style, old school, slow offense, and then you also have the ability to hit the gas pedal and drive it down the field in a matter of seconds, this could be an Oklahoma State offense that is not only worthy of garnering some of the major recruits in the country, like your Luke Fahey's, like your Oscar Rios, like your Tayon Tank Kings and your Ja'Cory Smiths. Those individuals, they obviously need to be tested, but they also need to see what it's going to be like as a future as a Cowboy. Part of Oklahoma State's allure for years, why we put so many wide receivers in the NFL, is because our offense was fun. It was innovative. It was fast. You knew that Brandon Whedon was going to get the ball out of his hand in 2.7 seconds. The question is, were you going to be able to stop it? And most teams were not able to do that. And of course, you had an overabundance of talent at the wide receiver position to help out Justin Blackmon. So it wasn't just him. But I feel like when you look at guys like Talon Shetron and Io Shotomai and Gavin Freeman and DeJuan Lofton and Shamar Rigby, there's no reason that this offense cannot be similar. And if you're going to go with the Whedon aspect, I think that would kind of suit more of a Garrett Rangel. But then you also have the capability to throw some Spencer Sanders action in here with Haas Haney. We know the versatility of Zane Flores. We know exactly what Mayo Lake can do as a true freshman on the field. He can win Big 12 ball games. We already know that. The question is, what kind of offense is Oklahoma State going to run? We went from the tempo offense, and of course, ironically enough, right, we've switched with the SEC. Back in those days, the SEC made fun of the Big 12 because the Big 12 was nothing but a track meet that had zero semblance of defense, and they didn't run the ball all that often because everybody was throwing it for 75,000 yards. Now that this is what the SEC does, and the Big 12 went more old school. I mean, even Oklahoma State did. We went with a traditional power-based offense. We would essentially do the huddles. We would slow the game down, and that was kind of catered to Ollie Gordon. Now, obviously, that didn't work out. The difference between now and then is we have more talent on defense, in my opinion. The downside to having an offense that can score in 40 seconds is you're putting your defense on the field so much that you're almost put in a position where you kind of have to be bend but don't break, just because the number of snaps that the defense is out on the field puts them in a bad spot. I mean, even this previous season, we were not a high-tempo offense. We did not have a functioning semblance of a turbo package. Yet we still found ourselves in positions because the ineptitude offensively the last couple of years, the defense was out there for 85 snaps. Now, that's going to be absolutely killer. If Oklahoma State does have the ability to do both, we can run a traditional old-school style huddle offense, and then we can shift immediately into that turbo package, and to do it with two different quarterbacks, I do think that this is a wonderful time for Cowboy football to have a resurgence. The Restoration of Order project has obviously already started. And by some of the names that you're getting into the campus visits right now, I think it's a wait-and-see approach now. I think the mystique is built up. The allure of being in Stillwater, it's definitely starting to get out to recruits and parents and coaches that there's something different happening in Stillwater. We have never recruited like this before. I can tell you that point blank, period, hands down on the Bible. We have never recruited like this. We have kind of shifted the way that we do things. It's more of an NFL model, and it's more of a kind of got an SEC recruiting feel to it, and the players feel it. But it's not just football. That is the beauty of this. This is becoming so campus-wide that it's almost impossible not to start getting a little bit more excited about 2025. The pieces have been there. Mike Gundy recently was in a press conference, and he was talking about the combine numbers and how Oklahoma State specifically had several guys that fit statistically in that, mid-round draft range. So even though we had a horrendous season, a good number of the guys that are going to have an opportunity at the NFL, they test out like NFL guys. Even some of the guys at the Big 12 combine thingy, the Pro Day combine, even some of those individuals that didn't get invited to the combine are likely going to fit in that mold. So Mike Gundy's even said, we had the talent. We have proof now from the combine, Pro Day, things of that nature. We have proof that our team did stack up. So that means it was coaching. And yes, we're going to lose some people, but that's another indication of something brewing pretty spectacularly in Stillwater. Is a lot of the main dudes didn't leave other than DeJon Stribling. And you can't get mad at it, right? He's got to chase his money. And we were in a position where we had to rebuild. Therefore, we were going to spend NIL money getting transfers as opposed to retaining individuals, because retaining the entire offensive line and Kendall Daniels and Ollie Gordon and all them, it did not work. So we shifted the approach this year. Using somebody like DeJon Stribling was kind of a necessity. As it is added, see, I can't speak English sometimes, as is the necessity for Cowboy football to put this on the field. It can be one thing in conversations. It can be one thing in recruiting. It's going to be another thing for them to see it on the field. Imagine if Oscar Rios can see Oklahoma State moving it up and down the field and scoring at will, essentially, but then also having the ability to pound the rock. See, that was the beauty of the 2011 offense. Was everyone talked about Brandon Weeden. Everyone talked about Justin Blackman. People tend to forget that when you have a Joe Randall and a Jeremy Smith, you're going to get gashed. If you're forced to play a defense that has to prevent the offense from going over the top, and we haven't really been launching balls deep the last couple of years, this should be a different season. We should be hammering the balls deep. We should be letting it go quite often, but then also have the home run capabilities at the running back position. Because before Joseph Randall kind of hit a couple crazy tree branches, he was having a phenomenal NFL career. And what he did at Oklahoma State, I think what he put up 1,600 yards, 1,500 yards, something to that effect his last season. That's what catapulted him to the NFL. So even though the offense was humming and we were scoring in 45, 55, 62 seconds quite regularly, and the defense was put in a precarious situation, our running backs were still massively productive. And I have a feeling this offense could look something similar to that. Just like I also have a feeling that money can act kind of funny and change can act kind of strange if you're not paying attention to it. Monarch Money is where you need to go to make sure that you don't have money just flying away randomly all over the place. We've all checked our bank account before and said, oh my goodness, where'd it go? But between now, dining out, online shopping, daily entertainment, it's very easy to lose track of where your money's going. This is where Monarch Money comes in. This is going to be your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money is not just a budgeting app, it's a complete financial command center. You can track all of your accounts, investments, and spending all in one place. So you just need to stop managing your money and start building wealth with it. Instead of juggling multiple apps, you can use Monarch to check your finances, track spending, and even plan your long-term goals. Managing money with your partner is smoother than ever if your partner is Monarch. You can track shared and personal accounts, set goals, and stay on the same page without all of the stress. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money today. Use the code LOCKEDONCollege, all one word, at monarchmoney.com. That's 50% off for your first entire year. Go to monarchmoney.com. The code LOCKEDONCollege, all one word, for half off your first year. We get to shift gears here once again. David Taylor is another individual that is absolutely shattering the expectations. Of course, I think a lot of us, after watching what Troy Spratley, Dean Hamady Jr., Wyatt Hendrickson, Caleb Fish, and even to some degree Cam Amin were all able to do in their 1 year at Oklahoma State. The possibilities are endless. And thankfully, recruits all across the country are seeing this. You've got a couple Penn State guys coming in. You've got one of the best we've seen in a while from Iowa State and Casey Swiderski coming in. And now you get the news of Figueroa coming in. This is an absolutely wild time to be a Cowboy or a Cowgirl fan. But we didn't need to get desperate and go for AJ Ferrari. Well, Thankfully, we did not get AJ Ferrari. And even though he did try to take some jabs at David Taylor, saying that he chose North Carolina because they're true followers of Christ, we're not going to jump too deep into that. But I feel like AJ's pretty disingenuous. And now we find out AJ Ferrari is a flat-out liar. He never got an offer from Oklahoma State. He didn't talk to Oklahoma State. There was never even a possibility of him coming to Oklahoma State, yet he presented this thing out there that Oklahoma State's going to be part of his top 5 in his decision-making. It was all bull honky. It was all for AJ Ferrari to try to build this circus. And if you saw by his commitment, I didn't watch it, thankfully, but his antics prove that he doesn't walk the walk. I will put it. I mean, he talks a lot, right? And he did the whole thing. Oh, I'm going to go to Penn State. Hot. Just kidding. I'm going to go wrestle with my brother at Iowa. Hot. No, just kidding again. I'm actually going to go to North Carolina because they're true followers of Christ up there. When you lie to the entire country and you pretend that Oklahoma State's in the mix, and I do, like, for me personally, I don't want to say devastated, but when I heard the rumors that Oklahoma State was talking to AJ Ferrari from AJ Ferrari's people, I was pretty irate because I was sitting here thinking, why would David Taylor stoop that low? It doesn't make any sense. He can go out and get virtually anybody he wants. Why would you go get somebody that you know is going to be a headache, you know is going to be a distraction, and you know you're going to have to up the security on campus tenfold just to have him? It didn't make any sense. And thankfully, we now know it was all a fabrication by AJ Ferrari. So if he never even talked to David Taylor in Oklahoma State, he never had an offer from David Taylor in Oklahoma State, we had no plans on even entertaining the idea. How many of these other offers are bull honky? How much of this, the new, changed, godly, Bible verse reading version of AJ Ferrari, he lied to the whole country. He pulled his clownish shenanigans once again because he wants the spotlight. He wants the attention. He doesn't want to build himself into something new. And I think this move verifies it. I just think it's imperative that people out here know that he made all of that up. He was never going to be a Cowboy. It was never even an entertained idea, yet he presented it as if it was happening, and he had a big-time NIL offer from Oklahoma State. None of that happened. So there's your new, changed AJ Ferrari, still doing the same stuff, the same antics, the same way, lying to the same people about the same things 24/7. So happy that David Taylor found a way to avoid this catastrophe of an individual and hammer home the fact that now Oklahoma State might have the capability of competing for a national title next year. It seemed like Penn State, they still returned like 7 of their 10 from last year. So it's likely they win it again. But 2027, 2028, there's going to be a door open. But with the way that we're getting these transfer portal guys in, it could still be a possibility that we make 2026 a little bit more interesting than everyone anticipated. Nebraska, they returned like 8 of their guys, 7 or 8 of their guys. So they're going to be in the mix. Iowa, they've been able to get some dudes. They still have some dudes. They're going to be in the conversation. But it's not going to be as easy for Penn State anymore. The days of Penn State running away from everybody like the last few years are starting to die now. And you're seeing that in the transfer portal. Look at Figueroa alone. There was an Arizona State person, I think, was talking crap about how big money schools are taking over wrestling. And then literally a few hours later, it was put out that Figueroa turned down a bunch of NIL from a bunch of schools just to come to Oklahoma State because he wants to be a part of what is happening. He wants to be a part of the new age Cowboy wrestling. He turned down tons of money, hundreds of thousands of dollars to come be a Cowboy. And I think that you're going to start seeing that more transferable in every sport. We didn't offer Katie Jones the most, but we treated him the best. We gave him the best description on what his future could look like in Stillwater and how it makes sense in the offense. Now we just don't have to see it. So glad that we missed out on this ridiculousness. And I'm so glad you're able to swing through today. I greatly appreciate it. That's all we're going to have for this one right here. As always, I love you. God bless. Go Pokes. Thank you for tuning in to make this your first listen here on Locked On Oklahoma State. You could be anywhere. So happy you choose to be here. All right, y'all. You know what it is. Later, my taters.